Hey everyone, it's Stock Picks by Tim, and in this video I wanted to look over Cleanspark. We've got an important date coming up. I'm also going to look over the chart, give you something recently that just came out to watch. Now if you don't mind, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Occasionally I do put out time sensitive information, and I definitely appreciate the support. Now first off, let's go look over at Cleanspark's Facebook, see what's happened recently. Now I will leave you guys a link below to this interview, definitely really interesting. It's about a 15-minute long interview. Definitely check out the link below. They obviously talk about Bitcoin, Zach Bradford's background, and then they also go into advice for being a good business leader. So if you're trying to soak up all the information you can about Cleanspark, definitely watch the recent interview. Alright guys, now the point of this video was going to be Cleanspark's mining update, and usually this comes anywhere from about the 2nd to the 5th. It does depend. But really quick, I wanted to show you what I'm going to be looking for on their mining update, and some potential things to look out for. Now, just to provide you guys some context, here is May's Bitcoin production. So once we get to July, anywhere from July 2 to like July 5, we're going to get June's update on their production there. So one thing I really want to see compared to May is I want to see a higher monthly production, okay? That to me is going to be one of the most important things to see. And I'm also very curious what their holdings are going to look like. Have they been selling Bitcoin into this weakness lately to just help their cash balance, or have they been hodling? Now you'll see that in May they did sell about 210 Bitcoin, and their average for that was about $32,000 per Bitcoin. Now I really don't expect that to happen for the month of June, and I'll show you why here in a second. So basically in May, they made almost 7 million off of the Bitcoin they sold, and their daily Bitcoin production reached a high of 10.69, roughly 10.7. So the month of June, I want to see very close to 11 Bitcoin per day mined. Now, here's one thing I wanted to show you really quick. When thinking about where they sold their Bitcoin in June, you also, of course, have to look at Bitcoin's price. Now, from the beginning of June to all the way about to the 12th, we were sitting in the 30,000 range, kind of dipped down to about 28. And then throughout the middle of the month, we dropped all the way down to about 18,000, 20,000, found that support. So I'm very curious to see where Cleanspark sold their Bitcoin. If they did, I'm sure they sold some, of course, very likely. Did they sell it at the beginning of the month and pop some here in the 30,000 area? Are they going to look like geniuses here? Or have they just been selling throughout the month kind of to average through? Now, speaking of Bitcoin, we did have a bit of a false breakout here out of this trend line. Now we're back in it, seeming to follow it. I want to see it break out of this trend line again, but while we're pushing to the downside, I don't want to see us break 17,700. So 17,700, if we break that, we're definitely in for some lower levels. That means we're going to be breaking our previous low. But one thing to think about is from dropping from 20,000, we literally double bottomed and ran right back up, and it almost seemed like the same thing was going to happen. Although we are now hovering under 20,000. Now you guys know I am extremely bullish on Bitcoin. I see now as a golden opportunity to add. But keeping in mind that over the next 6 months or so, it's very possible we do test this low. But I do honestly believe that over from now to the next 6 months is going to be one of the best opportunities to buy Bitcoin in recent history, and even in the next 3 years. This will be the best opportunity. And one thing I really wanted to mention before I ramble on is, as others have said, we did break our previous peak. This hasn't happened before. When in the next cycle Bitcoin drops, it breaks the previous all-time high of the previous cycle. That hasn't happened. This happened this time, and I think this is due to us being in a recession, or considering we're in a recession somewhat. We'll see once our GDP comes out at the end of the month. But I think this is why Bitcoin is just showing so much weakness compared to the previous cycle. And one thing I got to remind you guys, is once we come up to our halving, we are inching closer and closer. The clock is ticking, as we stagnate, as we trade sideways, as we bounce around, we are getting closer and closer to that halving, which inevitably, in my opinion, will push that price exponentially, and we will eventually break all-time highs. We are currently a hair under 2 more years, and we are now past the halfway mark. And here is a fantastic chart that shows you exactly what I'm talking about. This red line is each halving, and see what happens each time. This is obviously an old chart because we're in 2022, but you can see how the trajectory goes. Every halving, we just have this nice pump upwards, and we usually have a pump up beforehand. Usually that middle of the halving is where we have that drop from our all-time high, and that is what we had again. You look at 2022, we had our peak here right in, towards the end of 2021, and then dropping down into 2022. What happens coming up? If you look through history, we start coming back around. I am very confident in Bitcoin, and to me, it's clearly the time to buy. All right, now I wanted to show you guys Cleanspark really quick because we did break our previous low. We did, of course, break our 11th, 12th May max fear day of roughly 450 before it bounced. Now we did come back down there, came back to about 405 or so, and then we just followed this uptrend. Once we broke this uptrend though, we started just falling like a rock, and we did break that previous low. I'm personally long-term minded on Cleanspark, so I see it as a great time to add. However, if you're looking short-term, this is breaking new lows, so this isn't a good sign. And also guys, keep an eye on this pattern because we are following this kind of downward wedge. And also keep an eye on the RSI. It does seem like we're slowly following this little uptrend on the RSI, bouncing from oversold. But let me know down below how you're feeling about Cleanspark. What do you expect for their mining update? Are we going to see more Bitcoin mined per day, seeing as a lot of these miners have been pushed out of the space? I'm very excited to see that. What I'm not excited to see is where they sold their Bitcoin at. I'm not very optimistic there. But as I've said, our next few earnings are likely not going to look the best, just because of Bitcoin's price being so pushed down. But in my eyes, the long-term vision is of course still here, and Cleanspark will continue to be a great buying opportunity in the weeks, maybe even months to come. But I'm continuing to add in, despite this being a falling knife, so you might want to be careful. You might want to wait until the trend reverses. There's no reason to think that this isn't going to continue a little farther down. But before you know it, some crazy news comes out, Bitcoin goes from a downtrend to an uptrend, and then the money starts piling in again. But thanks as always guys, have a good weekend.